current or future airline pilot, you should really be paying attention to what is going on with the FAA in Washington, D.C. right now. There is something called the FAA Reauthorization Act, which is changing a lot of things in aviation, and I am here to break it down for you. Hey guys, my name is Katie. I'm a professional pilot, and I have the finer points for you so you don't have to read that 1,069-page document that's going between the House and the Senate this week. The first point we're going to talk about, which is really hotly contested in airline pilots, is raising the retirement age from 65 to 67. Now, if you're not aware, there's a pilot shortage going on, and this is what this is trying to help with, right? So they're saying we can just make the pilots work 2 more years, and then that's going to add to the number of total pilots, and airline captains are like where the shortage is really the worst, and that'll help out. Now, on reading this further, I thought it was really interesting that that actually may not help out that much, just raising the retirement age. And here's why. ICAO, which is the international committee that handles the retirement age and safety and that kind of things for all, world international pilots, is not going to be raising the retirement age. So what that means is these airline captains, who a lot of them work as wide body international pilots because it's a better lifestyle and they're at the top of their career, they can pick what they want to do, they would not be able to fly internationally anymore because of age limits. So now the airlines are going to have to retrain those 65-year-old pilots and put them into different airplanes that operate domestically. That means a lot of money in training for those airlines. That also means that the finite resources they have of sims and instructors to train new pilots, it's going to go to a pilot that they're maybe going to get 2 years out of, when it could have gone to training a new first officer who's like 25 to 35, where they're going to get like 30 to 35 years out of this pilot. The other thing that's really interesting that I found out on reading up on this is that 40% of airline pilots age 64 are on some kind of medical leave or PTO. So they're really not even working that much at that point in time. Maybe they're having some health issues when they're a bit older. Maybe there's some family stuff going on, but they're able to use the benefits of their job that they've built up over time, or they really just need to be, taking care of themselves physically. Now, during the pandemic, these airlines did offer early retirement for pilots aged 62 to 65, and 6,000 pilots took that early out. So it could seem that pilots that were really counting down the clock to get to 65 and retire, they may have already left and they're not part of this conversation anymore because they took the early retirement. Now, I've heard that a lot of pilots have been calling their representatives and saying that they want to keep flying. So that's interesting as well, is some of these pilots really want to keep working. They want a couple more years and they don't want to be forced into retirement if they don't want to. They want to have the choice. So pros and cons to both sides. Maybe they want to make a little bit more money, and maybe they really are tired of working and they want to retire. As far as the actual airlines and the pilot shortage goes, it doesn't seem like this would actually help that much of just raising the retirement age, for all the reasons that we just talked about. Now, historically, the FAA has actually raised the retirement age of pilots before, and it was in 2007 when they raised it from 60 to 65. However, the big difference is ICAO had already raised that retirement age to 65. So the FAA was not doing something different. They were just matching the international standards for the rest of the world. Right now, we would be an outlier and it would cause problems with pilots not being able to fly internationally as airline transport pilots. Currently, this bill has passed the House, but in order to pass the House, they did take out this section about raising retirement age for pilots. So it seems to be that that was a really tense point, and they had to take that out to move it over to the Senate, and we'll see what happens from there. But this bill is not just on retirement age. There's other things in here, one of which is increasing air traffic controllers. So if you're not aware right now, there is a large air traffic controller shortage. Like, I have been flying in airspaces I've been flying in before, and it is very clear that these people are overworked and handling more sectors than they have been before. The FAA controls who can be an air traffic controller, and they actually have a maximum hiring age of 30 years old, unless there's some other things like military experience that goes into that. So yes, you heard that right. You cannot be older than 30 to be hired as an air traffic controller, which is wild to me. They've stated that there's some data on people not learning as fast when they get older, but that seems pretty outdated to me. And I think there's plenty of people in their 30s, 40s, and even 50s that could be great air traffic controllers. So maybe that'll get changed. That's not specifically in this bill about changing the ages for hiring. It's just more supporting the FAA to hire more air traffic controllers, which seems like a really good thing to me. Now, another really interesting thing in this bill, which again has already passed the House, is stating that it would prohibit the FAA from mandating masks, vaccines, or things of that nature. So that's an interesting one. It's kind of a response to obviously what happened during the pandemic. and it would basically prohibit the FAA or airlines from making mandates for vaccines or mask wearing. Something else that is in this bill, which would really help a lot of consumers, is that if your flight is more than 3 hours delayed, you could be entitled to a full refund. So I think what's going on is after the pandemic, there was a big uptick in flying because everybody was kind of tired of being in the house, and things have been chaotic, right? Like people have been sitting on runways. We've had a lot of cancellations. We've seen that in the news all over the place with different things. And I think people as consumers are sick of it. And so the government's kind of stepping in and saying, let's make this a little bit more palatable for the general public. Another thing along this same vein is basically saying that airlines could not charge more for tickets where families want to sit together. So things like that are in the bill. Another big one is increasing runway safety. So there's been some stuff as well in the news about airlines that have had near misses, landing on another airplane, or ones taking off and they're really close in flight. So it would be enhancing runway safety, and they would be giving money to that part of the FAA as well. So overall, if you were someone that was opposed to raising the retirement age to 67, this is kind of a win for you. It seems like it really wasn't based off of necessarily the opinions of a lot of pilots, but when you look at the data and you see that 40% of pilots age 64 are on some kind of medical leave, and they wouldn't be able to fly internationally as well, and then the airlines will have to make up all this training for them, it just really doesn't seem like that would help the pilot shortage. Anyways, I fly Part 91, I'm a corporate pilot, so I'm not necessarily involved in all of this fiasco, and I'm really interested to hear what you all think. So if you're a pilot that's nearing that retirement age, or if you're someone younger that works as an airline pilot, put your thoughts in the comments below. Did you want the retirement age to go up to 67? Do you not care? Let me know. Overall, there's a lot of great info in this bill. There's a lot of things that could help aviation safety and help air traffic controller safety. So let's see what happens. Is it going to pass the Senate? How many amendments are they going to have to make? We'll see. And I will be back to let you know more.